Maiden Speech, Monica Harding.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is a true privilege to stand here today among these green benches as the member for Esher and Walton. And not only that, but for the very first Liberal MP for my constituency for over 100 years, and its very first female MP. The biggest issue on the doorstep in my constituency is undoubtedly the state of the NHS, and so I am pleased to make my maiden speech in this debate. First, however, it would be remiss of me not to point out that Esher and Walton are only two of the towns I represent. My constituency also includes the Dittons, the Molesys, Claygate, Hersham, Hinchleywood and Oatlands. I am proud to call this my home for almost 20 years and where I raised my 4 children. It is also the playground of the kings and queens of England. Esher and Walton spans the former hunting estate of Henry VIII, which stretched from Thames Ditton to Oatlands Palace, where his daughters Mary and Elizabeth sometimes resided and Charles I was imprisoned. As a result of Henry's forest, our constituency is almost 60% greenbelt land, and in the government's planning reforms to provide the homes we desperately need, these areas must also be protected. It was the ease of travel to London via the River Thames when boats were faster than horses, which led the monarchs to Esher and Walton, and sometimes our trains into London feel as slow as being on horseback, and I look forward to pushing for improvements to our railways. But we are a river community. The Thames provides our border with London, and the chalk stream, the Mole, runs through our constituency and is now one of the most polluted rivers in England. My constituents are so exercised by the sewage pouring into our rivers that they have been explicit about sending me to this place to help sort it out. Our rowing clubs share their disquiet, not least because they don't want their Olympians getting sick. Molesey Boat Club sent 4 members to Paris this year, as did Surbiton Hockey Club, which is actually in Long Ditton, which sent 11 and has over 1,000 youth players. Every weekend in Esher and Walton, grassroots youth football clubs gear up to welcome over 5,000 players registered. The Great Walton and Hersham FC boast the youngest owners in world football, and so interlinked is football into our community that the 5 Claygate Royals youth teams are named after Claygate's 5 pubs. We are a hub of children playing sport, which matters for their health and well-being, which brings me back to this debate. Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to tell you a story from my constituency. During the general election campaign, on the doorstep, I met a couple unloading their car. I apologised for disturbing them as they were unpacking their shopping. "Not shopping," they replied. "We are unpacking our son's belongings. He died." They went on to tell me that this young 19-year-old man had taken his life while at university. "He met you," they told me. "He said he would vote for you because you were speaking out on mental health and special educational needs, support for young people." His mother told me that she counted herself lucky that she had managed to support her son for the years at school because she could afford interventions and therapy. She worried about those children stuck on NHS waiting lists, unable to access the support that he had. In Surrey, there are almost 7,000 children on mental health waiting lists, with average waits of almost 8 months. I meet parents on the doorstep whose special needs children are at home rather than school, for months, sometimes years, sliding into depression because they cannot access adequate provision. I promised this young man's mother that if I were elected, I would continue to shine a light on this issue, and I can think of no better place to do it than in this debate. Yeah. Our children and young people are in trouble, and we must fix it. As a start, we need to put mental health care on an equitable footing with physical health. In 2024, this is long overdue. Let this new Parliament be the start of it. Lastly, I am of course very aware that I stand here on the anniversary of the 7th of October attacks. I want to add my voice, remembering all those who have lost their lives, are still held hostage, and those across the region who are displaced, suffering, and have been killed. As the new Liberal Democrat spokesperson on international development, I urge the government to use all its levers to get humanitarian aid into the region as winter approaches. I will be pushing this House to renew our leadership in international development by restoring the 0.7% of gross national income to UK aid. Yeah. My constituents are outward looking. They are used to having a foreign secretary as an MP in my predecessor Dominic Raab, and I pay tribute to his work, particularly in his introduction of the BNO scheme, which my party had long called for and has given my constituency a wonderful new British Hong Kong community. And following 15 years of working overseas, I'm committed to contributing to resetting our standing in the world, recognising our international obligations, participating fully in our international institutions, and including restoring a closer relationship with our closest neighbours, Europe. Yeah. Madam Deputy Speaker, I bring to this House the brilliance of Esher and Walton and their struggles. As someone once said, politics done well changes lives. Madam Deputy Speaker, it saves lives too. In this still new Parliament, I intend, with honourable members and friends, to set to work.